coat thing, and that was basically it. And I mean, just little more than a dirt floor, man. It wasn't nothing. I mean, maybe one, two windows. It was just wind could have blown it over. It wasn't nothing. And they sold chicken dinners on Sundays and pooled their money together and secured the land from the bank. The Cypress District also contributed a lot, in terms of the building of it. And they got together and they got the church built. It took a while. I think it's about a year in building from what I can understand. Yeah, but they built something and money ran out and they had to come back and start over, make loans. It didn't, then it's all kinds of problems, but they finally did get it built. Yeah. And I think the plan, from what I understand, was Reverend Riley's plan. It sounds like him, from what I read about him. Yeah, it was his design. But there were a lot of other churches. When I go to the book, you see who had a similar design as Mount Ron did. Yeah.
What got you so interested in the history of the church and the community?
Me?
Yeah, you.
When I was going to university, I was a history major.
Oh, okay.
And history and psychology. And it just kind of bled over. It just, people, I just good at remembering dates and places and time and stuff. And all the pastors said, man, why don't you move? And I thought they were trying to get rid of me, run me off. You can do so much better here somewhere else, move to Dallas or back to somewhere else, But I just, it's not a big city guy. And so I just kind of stayed around here. It's good here.
Can you recall the names of some of the prominent church members when you were a teenager or later? Who they were, their occupations?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, most of the pictures are right here on the wall right there. There was Charlie Smith, he was a store owner, had a store right down here in the corner. Clarence Neal, he was a barber, cut hair. W.F. Booth, he was the first black chief of police, City of Commerce. Isaiah Mines, he was a farmer. I won't say A.C. Williams, but he was a Methodist. And that's, most of the people here, they just worked, whatever they could do. Some had to drive away to Dallas to bring them to work, come back. But most of them were just laborers. We didn't, at the time, we don't, like now, we got doctors here, we got truly educated people here. But then it was just poor people, They come to church wearing overalls and brogan boots.
Well, part of that was the roads, right? I understand it was kind of messy to get to church.
Oh gosh, yeah. You couldn't come to church on a Sunday, or well, if it rained that Saturday night, because there was no paved roads here, and they were small. You couldn't, maybe two cars couldn't go, and when it rained, people would park up this way where American Wood is now, and they would have to walk, park down the track and then walk around my church because of the mud. Some people still had wagons and mules and stuff, and those would cause ruts, so they wouldn't be able to drive their cars. Now I can remember some of that, really, before the streets were paved. Yeah, it was pretty messy, dirty roads in the rain.
And there was the roads on the other side of the tracks. Those were paved, yes.
Oh yeah.
So what were conversations like? Does the city not go this far, or was there some kind of injustice going, what I mean? Or is it just, this is the way it is, I guess?
People felt it's just the way it is.
It's the way it's always been, it's just the way it is.
Mostly, the greatest inconvenience wasn't so much roads, you just took it this way it is. But they didn't have indoor plumbing. So you had an outhouse, which, you had to go out and do your thing there. And they just basically, there was a guy that came around with a mule and a wagon, and he would empty these outhouses,
And we're not talking about a very, very long time ago.
No,
what are we talking about here?
No, we're talking 50s, late 50s. Yeah. Matter of fact, Mr. Moore, Ivor Moore, he was responsible for getting the streets paved and a lot of the sewer lines here in this part of town, because we just didn't have it. Some did, up this way, but farther down that way, no, they didn't have that. Didn't have it at all. Now at the Cummins House, and they did, and Norris School did. But a lot of individual homes, if they didn't have hot water, they could boil the water on the stove, and then take it to a big number 3 wash tub and put it in there.
Did you have, the home you grew up in have hot water, running water? You graduated from high school in 66?
64.
64,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. We didn't. We had an outhouse. We didn't mind. I lived with my grandparents, and we didn't have that. We had to heat our water for bath, and they had an outhouse in the back. It was our neighbors and people of the streets, and at the time people had animals. Everybody had a cow, some chickens or something. Hog, something in the backyard, something pinned up.
So you got eggs and milk?
Yeah, well, they did. We had chickens. We'd go get eggs, and my grandpa would go out and he'd take a chicken and wring his neck off. That chicken would flop around all over and scare me to death. I run in, I'm scared, Y'all never saw that, have you? Yeah? No? No? I mean, they take it, man. Then my grandma, she'd go out and she'd just take the chicken, and she had this big black pot there. She'd throw them in there and boil them, and the feathers come off, and we'd have the chicken, for dinner. Yeah. And an hour and a half later. Yeah, so it was different, Yeah, it's a totally different world. I'm caught up in where I'm a part of the old world, and I can also see a part of the new kind of, right in the middle of that transition point right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like the role that you talk about. Like, there's a lot of different things, and you talk about in your history too, how the community itself, there's a lot of troubled times and things, and
Mm-hmm.
the church was set up as kind of this refuge. What role do you see the church having? People didn't have people had outhouses or there weren't paved roads, and so how did the church help them out? I mean, I know it did, but what were some of the things that the church did?
It gave them hope. The church told them that although you're suffering now, there is a better place in the by and by. So it kept their spirits up to a point. A lot of people were, particularly in the 40s, they went to World War II and they were returning home, and they had saw a part of the world that they were not able to see here. Okay, so they said, well, hey man, blacks in Europe are doing better. Blacks in the North are doing better. And so that caused a lot of frustration on their part. Sometimes that frustration led to violence, particularly on Saturday nights. It was rough in this community on Saturday nights. Cummins had a bad reputation of being a really serious and tough town. People didn't play around, and they truly didn't. There was a shooting every Saturday night. Not necessarily a killing, but a shooting or a cut. Something happened.
These were bar fights or?
Bar fights. There was 2 little, we call cafes, one down this way and one down there. When I was growing up, this one was the one that was operational, and there was a bootlegger. I don't know if you know what a bootlegger is, So they go buy bootleg liquor, and it's like a $2 a pint, $1 a pint, something like that.
Was it against the law to buy alcohol in Commerce at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come to drive,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to go to a bootlegger and knock on his back door.
Not that you know me.
Yeah, knock on the back door, so you go in and you get it, and you stick it in your pocket, and you go out, and you get in your car, and you drink it real fast, you go back down to the cafe, and you dance, you have a good time. And then somebody dance with your girl, you get mad, and they're just pushing and shoving. And so most of the fights were over women,
Some things never change.
Something never changed, no.
Do you remember the names of the cafes and who ran them or how they were run?
No, I don't. Miss Bernice, Jane Beard ran the last one but the one she ran wasn't too much violence in it. And the ones who ran those when I was a little boy, like this or so, I can't remember. You see, what I would do, my uncle and his friends, he was probably in his 30s, and I was probably 11, 10. I'd get in the back seat of the car, and I'd lay down in the back seat like that. So they drive off, and I know I was in the back seat. So when they get up, I'd raise up, and I look out, and I see the people walking across there, and they would dress up. They would have on their suits and ties. And I'm like, where are they going? Like they're going to church. But they're going to this cafe to dance. They'd have on starch pants, and I mean, they were really spiffy.